afternoon, good evening, and good night, wherever you are at in the world watching this video. I want you to know that I appreciate you tuning in to the Cali Truck Stop Theater. So, I don't have a particular thing to talk about right now, but I decided to turn the camera on. Well, I turned the camera on because I'm trying to remind myself to have a dash cam. And so right now I'm using my phone as a dash cam. And whenever I'm in places that, you know, I'm going to have a bunch of cars and stuff like that, a bunch of traffic around me, or if I'm going to be going through these little small towns and I got to run through the stoplights and stuff like that, I want to make sure that I have a camera rolling, because I already got stopped at one point, and I got a citation for supposedly running a red light, which I'm going to be going to court for to fight against it. I already went to court one time, and the judge made it stick, even with no evidence of me running a red light. It's just based on an officer's testimony, which is really not how the court is supposed to be judging on cases. But I got an appeal I'm going back to court because it's an appeal court, so I'm going back to court to appeal the decision to get it overturned, because that is very important. That I need to, because having to go to court and fight to clear your license is very important, because anytime that you get a citation, whether you're in your personal vehicle or you're in a commercial vehicle, you are under strict scrutiny. Even if you're in your personal vehicle, not on duty or whatever, you are still under strict scrutiny. So you can't just drive any old way that you want to, whether you're in your commercial vehicle or in your personal vehicle. By the way, I'm driving down the I'm actually going down Highway 101, and I'm up here in New Hampshire. It's State Highway 101, heading down to I'm in New Hampshire, but I'm heading down to Massachusetts to go pick up my load, and I'll probably drive just a few hours afterward before I shut down for the day. I've been driving all night, and the sun's coming up, but my shift is almost over. So anyways, I have to go to court to fight this citation that I had gotten in error. Now, some people wouldn't think that going to court, even if you're not a commercial driver, a lot of people think that going to court is too much of a hassle. And I thought I wouldn't have anything to say, but I guess I do have something to say. A lot of people will, from my experience, from what I know that a lot of people do, is that they think that going to court is too nerve-wracking. It's too difficult, to go to court and fight the ticket. A lot of people even think that, well, I don't know how the court system works. I don't know if I could get off, you know, I don't know if I can get out of my ticket. All of these statements are true, yet to some degree, they're fears. They can be false. Yeah, court is, you know, going to court is nerve-wracking, stressful. You might not know how to conduct yourself in court and things of that nature. There's some things you're going to need an attorney for. But if you learn a little bit about how the court system works and how to, you know, how to navigate through, you know, how to navigate through, what is it? If you learn how court operates, and you learn certain strategies to presenting the best defense when you get accused of something, the chances of you actually winning your court case will increase. Number one thing is that you don't want to go into court. You don't want to go into court being scared, and you definitely don't want to go into court thinking that you're Mac Daddy, you know, or King or Queen, you know, Queen Bee or something like that. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to be going into court with this haughty attitude in front of the judge, because the judge is not going to take too kindly to that. But you don't want to be, you know, you don't want to be fearful and things like that, because you're going to end up sabotaging your, you know, your court, you know, your case, because you're too fearful to speak up and things like that, and so you are not going to be able to present your case in the best light. So yeah, all too often people just go and pay off the ticket, and in my opinion, that's a bad move, because you may not realize that, oh hush, I know where I'm going. You may not realize that when you get a citation, as the officer says, it's not an admission of guilt, which means that there is a margin for error when it comes to an officer giving you a citation for some sort of traffic violation. There is a margin for error. And the way that these laws are written, in many cases these laws are written, if not all of them, but many of these laws are written in a way to where, if you understand how the law system works and how a lot of these laws are actually written, they're written to where you can possibly get out of a situation which is considered to be a loophole, right? Some people don't like loopholes. You know, some people have a problem with a loophole. You know, you got some of these people that portray to be super righteous folk, you know, and they're letting their conscience, or letting something or someone else talk them into thinking that loopholes are a bad, is bad moral character. And to an extent, that is true. It depends. It depends on the situation. It really does depend on the situation. And I'm not going to be, you know, this video is not about how to weasel your way out of, you know, how to weasel your way out of a court case. You know, the court system is set up to try to be as fair as possible in the spirit of how our judicial system is set up. In the spirit of it, it's set up to try and be as fair as possible. Now, as far as how these men draft up these laws and things like that, or even why these laws exist, a lot of these laws are not drafted up to be in your favor in the first place. But the way that the system itself is designed, if you know what you're doing and how to navigate your way through the system, you can have some success in being released from a particular charge that you're being charged with. And I know that's a long-winded way of saying this stuff, but that's just how I am sometimes. I'm kind of long-winded with a lot of the stuff that I say. But most people will just go ahead and pay the fine or whatever, what have you. But what a lot of people don't recognize or realize is that when you do that, you automatically make yourself guilty of that offense. And the court really does not care if you're guilty or not. Well, actually, they do. They do care if you're guilty. Not they would rather you be guilty, because with every traffic offense that you have is attached a monetary value to that citation. So depending on what state you're in, you know, what you violated, I mean, you know, pick anything. I mean, you know, failing to use your signal light on a turn or to change lanes, there's a set dollar amount for that penalty. You know, it could be, you know, $50. It could be, you know, $300. You know, it all depends on the state and the I can't hardly say that, the judicial court in that area. It depends on, you know, on that kind of stuff. You know, when the laws are drafted up, they are drafted up and they're voted into law. And these laws, it's drafted in there that, you know, if somebody should ever break this law, you know, it's gonna be X amount of dollars as a penalty. And so these courts, a lot of these courts, they would rather you just be guilty. The easy thing, easy money for them is that you don't go to court and try to exonerate your name. They would much rather you just go ahead and pay the fee, take your money, and cause you to be guilty of a traffic offense. Now, it has all the upsides to them and all the downsides to you. First of all, you lose that hard-earned money that you made. You know, you lose that money where you could have went and took your wife, your girlfriend out for a nice date. You could have got your kids a new pair of shoes, you know. But instead, you had to go drop that cash off at the courthouse so that they don't up the penalties on you, so that they don't go out, they don't go and start assessing fees to get more money out of you, so that they don't, you know, and you know, ultimately, in worst case scenario, they put a bench warrant out for you for your arrest, and they cause you to sit in jail for a period of time to, you know, to pay off your fee. They can garnish your wages so that they can, you know, they can get their money from you, whatever. But the people that work on the court system would not rather you. They would not rather you come into the court to the courthouse and fight your ticket, because that means they have to work for your money now. And the reason, you know, and so the big thing is, aside from the money that you lose and things like that, your privilege, your driving privileges are in danger of being suspended or revoked. That's the big downside to us drivers. That's whether you're a commercial driver or you know, a POV driver. You know, you get points assessed onto your license. You'll have court fees and penalties to pay for. But then the kicker is that when your insurance finds out that you've been charged for a moving violation, or moving violation, things of that nature, they're going to take a piece of your money, because they're going to jack your insurance premium up because you got a ticket. So there's going to be a lot of money that you're going to lose if you just plead guilty by just paying the ticket. It is to your advantage. Boy, this sun is bright. Golly. It is to your advantage that you go to court and fight your ticket. I don't care if you were actually guilty of the offense. And when I say that, I'm saying that, well, let me retract that message. There's a very thin line between having to go and you know, fight the case to try and get out of something if you're guilty of it. You know what I'm saying? Depending on what you did and all that kind of stuff. That's a very thin line. That's something that you'd have to deal within yourself on whether or not you should do. But if you feel that you are not guilty, if you feel that you are not guilty, then it doesn't matter what it looks like. If you feel that you're not guilty, it is to your what's the word that I'm looking for here? I'm trying to think of the word here. It is to your advantage, but it's to your benefit. It's to your benefit that you go into court and you defend yourself, and you do your best to defend yourself, and clear your license. Because if you get, like I said, if you get charged for this, it's going to go on your record, your driving record. And for a commercial driver, this is something that you must do. It doesn't matter how serious or how simple the issue was. If you get a citation, no matter what, if you get a citation, it is to your best interest, your benefit, your best benefit to go and fight your citation in court. Now, it doesn't hurt to get advice from an attorney, and it doesn't hurt to even have an attorney present at the court hearing, itself. As a matter of fact, you're going to look like a boss walking up in the courtroom with your own attorney. Everybody else is trying to defend themselves by themselves, and a lot of them don't know what they're doing. Now, each state is different in the way that they run their court. Now, that overall, the court system runs the same way all across the country. There are certain nuances that are different when you go from state to state. And then it gets even more confusing as you go from county to county, parish to parish, village to village, or what have you. So there's a lot of different little nuances as you get down into the lowest courts. So my advice to you is that you try to get a hold of an attorney that specifies in traffic court. Get their opinion on how serious it is in the eyes of the law, how simple or how difficult or complex it's going to be to fight this in court. And then if you feel that person is knowledgeable, and you feel that you're not going to be successful by yourself, do what you can to hire that attorney, so that he or she can assist you and navigate you and fight for you in the court to get you off. If you don't have the money, try to find a way to get the money if you can. Try to find some money. I know it costs a lot to to get an attorney. It costs quite a bit. And I don't know why this dude got in front of me. Got in front of me and then just gonna sit there. He wasn't really just passing me, just to pass me. Although he's now starting to do that, seeing as how I got over. And I find that a lot of people are doing that when they just pass me just to get up in front of me. But they're not actually passing me to actually get somewhere. And it's not until I move out of the lane that they decide to speed up. But anyways, I'm gonna stop digressing there. Anyways, back to the court. So if you don't know what you're doing, or if the case is going to be too complex for you to do it on your own, my suggestion is to get an attorney that specifies in traffic court, in the traffic cases, and then you guys discuss a plan on how to get that citation overturned. Now, some tricks. Now, well, I guess they're not tricks, but some things that you can do to try and help you is, one, show up at the court. There are some places where the officer might not be able to make it to the court hearing to present his side of the case. If you are lucky enough to be in a situation where you show up to court and your case is called and that officer is not there, your ticket your ticket can be tossed out, and you will not be found guilty, and you won't have to pay no fees or anything like that. So that's one benefit. However, there are quite a few places where an officer will write tickets, and then they have a certain day that they're going to be on duty, but they're going to be dedicating their whole day to going to court. And this is to try to minimize the impact of the officer missing a court date. To get a ticket, to get for them to start, or for them to present their case so the court can go ahead and snatch their money. So there are many jurisdictions where they will have an officer just dedicate a day or two to be in the courthouse, presenting their citations that they personally cited drivers. They're going to present that to the court, and their whole goal is to charge you for what they stopped you and cited you for. So one tactic that you can use is that you can call up the court, and you can ask to have a continuance on your court date. Now, it may be that, it might be granted, it might not be granted, but at least it's a try. You might have to jump through a few hoops to get it. You might have to, you may have to send in a letter, X amount of days before your court hearing in order to get that granted. It might be just a simple, calling up the court clerk and asking to have the court date moved and have a good excuse for it. Whatever. But try to offset the court date the first time. Maybe even the second time if they let you. Sometimes the court will give you a couple of times to call in and postpone your court case, and then they're going to say, no, we ain't doing that. But most of them, if not all of them will give you at least one try. Will give you at least one time to offset your court date and put it into a continuance. Things of that nature. Hold on a second. Trying to clear up the nasal passages in my face. I got mucus buildup in there, and it's kind of messing with me, but I think it's attributed to me not drinking enough water here recently. Why don't I just turn that down a little bit? Here we go. Now, the sun is not so... I just got into Massachusetts. All right, anyways, so you can do a continuance on your case. That might work. Do a continuance. It'll throw them off a little bit. Hopefully, the court will reschedule your court date on a day that the officer cannot be there. And like I said, if he's not there, you have the option of getting your case thrown out and being cleared. What other things? Also, in getting the continuance, if by chance they can push it out way out, that would give you, plenty of time to, kind of, understand it, try to gather evidence or try to get your story straight for your case. But also, with that time lapse there, that can work to your benefit as long as you keep good records. That it might be to where, because of the lengthy time, an officer might forget a detail or two that could be important in the case. So if you keep good records of the incident that you were involved in, and not to say that officers don't keep good records, some of them do keep good records of the citation of the people that they stop in these citation stops. But there are some who, they don't take very good notes. But you never know. But it's always good to be prepared. Take good, take good notes so that as the time between you getting the citation and going to court to fight it, as that gap widens, there is a chance that you might forget certain details. But if you in some shape, form, or way document the incident, you can be able to recall things with complete accuracy.
2 miles ahead, take exit 44B9, 495 South Star Memorial Highway.
Okay, now I need to start getting on over here to the right side here. So I'm gonna go ahead and get myself in here. Come on, people. This is the reason why I don't like driving in the daytime. Everybody just drives, they just drive any old way they want to. But no, yeah, keep good notes. If you can print up some pages about the
1 mile ahead, take exit 44B9, 495 South Star Memorial Highway.
In regards to the citation, now it is important to go ahead, when the officer tells you that you have been, he cited you for, whatever law that you broke, whatever code you broke. It's important to go and look that code up. Look it up and read what that code says, what that law says. The way that this is why I'm saying that the way that it was written.
Take exit 44B9, 495 South Star Memorial Highway.
This is why I'm saying that the way that it is written, you could find a loophole in these laws. See, if you don't fight your citation, you just automatically say, oh yeah, I'm guilty. Let's just say, let's just say you ran a stop sign. Okay. Now, I'm making this law up, but it's going to be it may be pretty similar to what the actual law might be in your area. But the stop sign, tells you that you have to stop.
6 miles ahead, take exit 25B9, 290 West.
Tells you that you have to stop at the stop sign, or at the law tells you you have to stop at at the limit line when you stop at the stop sign, right? And it goes into other little details and scenarios. It could go into other details and scenarios to describe what you can do. Like, let's say there's no limit line. This is where you need to stop at, blah, da, 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 da. Well, some of these laws are written they're written to say, well, it's just written straight out. You violate this law, this code when you do this. Okay, but then there are other laws where it's a little more complex. It says that you will be found guilty at breaking this law if you have committed a laundry list of actions within that law. So in order for you to be considered guilty of breaking, law X, and it's got 3 bullet points that says you have to have done this, this, and this in order to be guilty of law X. Well, then that's good information for you to know, because it's like, okay, you can get cited for a particular law, but if that law says you have to be, 3 elements have to have been fulfilled in order for you to have committed an offense. See, if you just paid off the ticket, or if you just right off the bat said that you're guilty, and let's say that you did 2 of you did 2 of the 3 elements in that law. When the law says that that all 3 elements had to have been accomplished in order for you to have broken the law. So if that's the case, and only 2 offenses or 2 actions were fulfilled, but not the 3rd one, well, then you didn't break the law according to how the law was written. So if you didn't know that information, you would just go in to say, yeah, I'm guilty or whatever. And now what happens is that the court doesn't care whether or not you're guilty or not. They don't care on that aspect. They don't care. All that they care about is that if you say that you are guilty, hey, cool. You don't need to say no more. Just hand me your money and get out of my courtroom. That's really how they act. And so when the court gets that I'm guilty, in their eyes, you did everything that law said that you have to do in order to be an offense to that law. But in all actuality, you didn't break the law. So all these eyes that look at this on your record saying that you broke this law, they're going to assume that you did all of this. They're going to assume that you actually broke the law. And this is where it comes in for commercial drivers, where it is really serious that you don't just plead guilty, or that you just go ahead and pay the penalty and call it a day. Because with a commercial driver, like I said, the rules are more strict. They're more stricter when it comes to you, when it comes to you having getting these things on your record. You could lose your job because you decided to just, take the easy way out and pay the fine, or just say you're guilty, yada yada yada. You could lose your job. Your insurance rates will go up. You'll if you don't lose your job, you are gonna, you're gonna have you're gonna get some flack from your company that you're working with. But if you're trying to get hired on to some other place, your chances of getting hired onto them are going to be slim to none, because you're going to have, this offense on your record, and they're going to look at you like, whoa, wait a second, hold up. what's the deal? You got this on your record. I don't know if I want to hire you, because now you seem to be a risk, or you could be a potential risk. So there's a lot of different things that that can, or that are very vital, or it's vital that you go ahead and you fight these things, because the slightest little thing on your record could damage you, could damage your career. And so this is why I'm going to court. Because yeah, it would be easy for me to say, yeah, I'm guilty, pay the fine, and go on about my business. But when you look at what's at stake, what is at stake, it's not worth it to just take the easy route. Even if I was just a regular driver, I'm not, I don't want to just go ahead and just pay the fine and be done with it, because I know that there's going to be more money coming out of my pocket other than the initial court fee, the initial charge that the court is going to charge me for a penalty that I supposedly broke, for a law that I supposedly broke. Because you're going to have your insurance people, once they get a whiff of you having some sort of violation on your license, that's going to open up the doors, and almost automatically just opens you up for the taking, and they'll jack your prices up 10-20% of what you were paying previously. And so that's a significant amount of money, and so that's less money that you have in your pocket for doing the things that you want, or maybe even need to do in your life. And it seems to be a little bit of an extortion deal there, but that's just the way that our system works. And so you have to try to figure out how the system works, and once you figure out how the system works, you now got to try and figure out what you can do to protect yourself against these things. And as a CDL truck driver, I'm a fight. I don't care how guilty I am. If I was guilty, I'm going to fight, because there might be a chance that even though I may have, let's just say, even though that I may have committed an offense, and the way that law is written, that there's no way to wiggle myself out of not being an offense to that law. There might have been something that the officer did or didn't do, which pertains to another law that could nullify the reason for them giving you a citation in the first place. You know what I'm saying? It could be that there was a situation on the roadway to where you needed to, that there was no other way but to, on paper, violate a law. There might be something that might be something going on the road where you may have had to, do something. You may have had to break the law in order to be safe or whatever. So there are other anomalies that could get you off. The officer didn't do his job correctly. The officer thought that he was going to be Captain Commando there and try to get more out of the citation than just a citation, and he ends up violating some other rights, or some rights that you may have, and that could open the court up to negotiating with you about, okay, you know what, we'll go ahead and drop the case or whatever, la da da. Be on your way. So go and fight. Even if you are guilty, try and find something. And now, when guilty, now saying guilty, yes, it's bad, but it's not like it's not as bad as you would think. Okay, being guilty of something means that that you did something. Okay, the sun is guilty for rising. It's just saying that guilty is just saying that you did something. Okay, the sun is guilty for rising in the morning. Okay, there's a song that says, "I stand guilty of being accused of love," something of that nature, right? And he's just saying, this is what I'm doing. I am. He's professing his love. He's guilty of loving. I'm guilty of loving you. So that's all guilt is really saying. You did something. You can get over it. It's not. You're not going to go to hell for it. These are man's laws. You're not going to go to hell for that. So don't worry about that kind of thing. But you do want to weigh your options. First of all, see if you've been charged with the right with the right law. Make sure that the law or the code that they claim that you did, make sure that it coincides with the actual event that you did. Also, check to make sure that what requirements have to be fulfilled in order for this law to be broken. Okay, and then try to find out. Try to think of anything in that situation that that maybe something that the officer did or didn't do. There's some laws where it's straightforward. You're not going to be able to get out of it no matter what. But maybe that officer, failed to put your license down the right way or whatever. Things like that. So, and that's something too. Anyways, so just learn how the court system works. I'm going because I'm fighting for my license. I don't want that's considered to be an attack against my livelihood, against the way that I make my money. And an officer is not always going to be kind to that kind of defense. It's like they're doing a job and they think that they are doing a righteous job by citing a driver, and not to say that they're not, but there are times where they are just itching for. They're just itching for somebody that they can try to, cite. If that situation can, if they can try to manipulate the situation to where they say, well, they did do this kind of, that kind of stuff. So, and in my situation, that's the way that it was. Said that I did a certain thing. I said, no, that's not what I did. I know what I did, and I know what the law tells me that I can do. But the officer still broke me up anyway. So I'm going back to court to fight because I feel that I'm not guilty of this offense that he claims that I did, and so I'm fighting to clear my license. And I know it took almost an hour for me to say all this stuff, but I hope that you have actually gotten this far. I appreciate it if you've actually listened this far. You know, and you know, and so yeah, fight your court cases, and let's go. And I'm gonna expand this out to even further. It doesn't have to be just for your traffic offenses. If you ever get charged for an offense, whether it's a criminal or a civil offense, go to court and fight it, because you never know if under the circumstances it might get tossed out. So if you fight, you could save yourself a bunch of stress, heartache. You could save your life, save your money, and you can save your time. So go to court. What I would also suggest that if you got time, go down, go to your local courthouse, and if they, there are some places that will allow you to go in and sit in on court cases. Go down there and sit there and listen to the court cases that come in. Watch how the judge judges court cases, and that's something else too. If you, depending on what, depending on how your legal system is set up in your area, there are some places where you might have to go see a magistrate. I think that's what they call them. Dang it, what's the word? You may have to go see a lady.